You have songs stuck in your head?
Well, it's not a song. I have Fame, the original.
I mean, it is a song.
I mean, yes, but like the actual, like the sing, like I want to rewatch it. Fame was one of my favorite shows growing up. I studied dance for like 20 years of my life, and Fame was everything. And I've just been in
It
the
was a
mood.
great
It
show.
was like I want to rewatch it, but I'm like, is it streaming somewhere? I've got to find it. I need
It
to
might
like
be.
scratch that itch as soon as I can.
That is
So
something I haven't thought about since probably 1999.
yeah.
And at like the other day I was driving home and I don't know why I thought about it, but I thought about Dwayne the Wayne Johnson. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember that show?
Yep.
Oh my god, I don't know where that I'm gonna tippity tappy and you're gonna get mad at me. But anyway, we don't need to talk about 90s television shows, do
Are
we?
you talking about a different world?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a good show.
Good
One
old
of
The
the
Different World. That
one
was a
one of
good
the best.
show.
It was a fantastic show.
And I don't
Fantastic.
think they make shows like that anymore.
Oh man, they don't. Oh, let me just say this. Shout out to the creators of Harlem on Amazon Prime. I just watched that.
Mhm.
I binged it. What, the other day? Ah, the joy. The joy that it brought me. It was amazing. All those ladies, fantastic. Shout out to you all. You blew my mind. I love that show so much. Please
I'm
give
still
me
trying to
season
get
2.
through I'm still trying to get through Wheel of Time.
Oh,
But everyone's got me scared. I watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, I'm okay with this. This is fine. It's different, but it's fine. I'm enjoying it. And then everybody's been putting out these like terrifying looking videos. They're like, let's talk about Wheel of Time and how it's a disappointment. And I'm like,
well, here's how I feel about it. I watched
I'm
it already.
scared.
Don't be scared. I finished it. I finished it last week. And I I have to look at it with two sets of eyes, right? I'm looking at it just as a show, as if I never even knew there were a book series. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the other lens of I read 3 of the books, and based on those
Mm-hmm.
3 books, this is how I feel about what I've just watched.
Mm-hmm.
As a standalone show without any knowledge that there's even a book series attached to it, it's fairly good. I'm confused about a lot of things because a lot of things aren't explained. But like
Yes.
overall, it's okay. You know what I mean? The writing is not fantastic. The casting's
The
okay.
wardrobe isn't even great. It's
Right.
like this weird mix of J.C. Penney and like medieval clothes.
Ah,
It's very strange.
did you say a strange mix of JC Penney and Mitty?
I did. There's one scene where Nynaeve or whoever it is, or it's not Nynaeve,
Oh,
it's
I can't have
Egwene is
it.
sitting there and she's literally wearing like something that's lined in polar fleece. Like I think it's supposed to be Sherpa, but it's like 100% like an Old Navy fucking vest. Like
That's so
it's
funny.
not real. It's so weird to me. Like I'm sure they had a good budget. Like I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not great
I
either.
have heard, and from the first 2 episodes, I can see that it's a lot more centered around Morgaine as the like kind of the main character,
Yeah,
and I kind of like that because she's freaking badass,
she
especially in the
is.
show,
She
especially
is.
in the show.
She
So
is. But I don't know. I understand why these networks are loving these 8 to 10 episode seasons, but I'm telling you, for some stuff like Wheel of Time, it's incredibly too short.
but they're 800-page books, and that's actually isn't that not book one? Isn't that like kind of a combo of at least a couple books?
Yeah, and it feels like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the pacing is not great.
because like even with Game of Thrones, that was book one. Season one was book one, right?
Right. I believe so.
I mean, it felt like it was. That's the only season I've watched in its entirety.
Oh,
So
I've watched that show in its
I know you've
entirety
watched it a
several
thousand
because
times.
I
I do
love
have to
it.
get back
It's
to
so
that
good.
series this year, but
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping that I guess everyone else was
reading, not
too.
watching.
Everyone was hoping that the Wheel of Time would be like as great as Game of Thrones. It's not.
It's not.
It's not. But
But I
here
don't
we
even
are.
know if the books themselves are as good as Game of Thrones to a modern reader.
Oh, see, I don't know because I have not read the Storm of what is it? What's the actual title of the series? A
Uh,
Song of Ice and Fire.
yes.
I have not read that series, so I cannot say.
So like I feel like it's a lot more grimdark than epic fantasy, and I feel like that is more generally, I don't know,
Yeah, because Wheel of Time is not
uh,
grimdark. Wheel of Time is just
attractive
yeah,
to a modern audience than perhaps just like a regular old epic fantasy is.
yeah. Because Wheel of Time is just that. It is epic fantasy. It is not grimdark like the Song of Ice and Fire series.
By the way, I just want to point out that we've gone down one hell of a tangent because of me.
Oh,
This is
well,
nothing to do with what we're here to talk about today,
but it's
other than
but
the
isn't it
fact
though?
that
Isn't it
it is
though?
books.
It's books.
There are
So
books.
this is
Yeah.
how this is called the intro, folks.
This
Welcome.
is the intro where it's just a grab bag of crap that comes out of my brain.
And my mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the what do you call it? This is the water cooler talk, right?
You know, I was listening to somebody's intro and it's so organized and like wonderful. And they're like, they have their like soft little podcaster voices on. They're like, on today's episode, we're going to discuss la 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 la.
I
And then they're
know, I
like,
know.
hey, Susan, what are you reading today? Oh, well, Candace, I have like, I'm like, this is not our podcast.
That's not us. That's not us. What you get in this podcast, this is how we are in our,
Yeah,
off the podcast friendship. This is how it is. This
it
is how
is.
we chat, you
It is.
know?
Yeah. Welcome to our
Welcome.
friendship in a podcast.
Welcome. So
Yes.
that's my take on the Wheel of Time. That's how I feel about it. I am excited for season 2. I want to
I
see
will
what they do.
refresh when I finally finish. I will get the balls to get there eventually, I promise.
Yes.
Um, yeah, but
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
it, folks.
Yeah.
If
People
you're
scare me.
watching the show Wheel of Time, let us know what you think. Did
Mm-hmm.
you and let us know if you finished the entire Wheel of Time series or if you just finished up to book 3 to watch season 1 of the show.
Yeah, because you're now in front of me. I haven't even started book 4, but
Yeah,
I
but
will.
you'll catch up fast because you read that book in bigger chunks than I do. I just do 50
I
to
do.
100 pages a day, and then I move on
Yeah.
to another book.
Well, I can also listen and not read along with
Oh,
that one.
yeah, that's
So,
harder for me.
well, now that I know what the hell's going on, the first book was way harder, but
Yeah,
now I kind of know who everybody is, and I got a sense of everybody's names because everybody has a weird freaking name because
yeah,
it's fantasy. So now that I know who everybody is, it's a little easier.
yeah.
And they always add new people, but it's much easier now to add people than to
That's true.
start with not knowing anybody.
That's true.
So yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah. So Candace, what are we here to talk about today?
Well, Susan, no, those are not our names for anyone just listening for the first time. Those are not our names. I am Naomi, Book Lady Reads. She is Alyssa, Nerdy Nurse Reads.
But if we piss you off, we're Candace and Susan.
There you go. All right, what have you been reading lately, or what have you recently finished,
What have I recently finished?
or what are you currently reading?
Well, I finished Wahala by Nikki May, which I believe is actually a debut. And for anybody
Beautiful.
watching the video, it is a beautiful book.
It really is.
And it's out on January 11th, which means it's already out when you guys are listening to this. And it is this really great thriller, and it's about these 3 friends that are all mixed race and from, oh my god, what is wrong with my brain, Nigeria. And they are now living in the UK. They
Mm-hmm.
each have like different relationships with their father. And then the one woman has this friend that she grew up with from Nigeria who's like really, really from a very wealthy family, like crazy wealthy family, like corrupt government
Oh.
can erase anything family, who just kind
Oh.
of pops back into her life and things start to just become trouble from there. The 3, like 2 of the women are married. One of them, the one that pops back up, is divorced, and then the other one is dating somebody. And you go through this, it's got these Sex and the City vibes with these 3 friends kind of talking about their love lives, their dating lives, their woes, their like things going through their careers, etc., etc. And it's got this thriller aspect because this other woman comes in and you're like, I don't trust her. And it's just it is compulsively readable. I think somebody says that
Mm.
on here. It says unputdownable. Yeah, it's
Ooh, I
compulsively readable.
love
You
that.
just keep reading it because you're like, what is this bitch gonna do? What is she gonna do? And yeah, it's crazy. It takes lots of twists and turns. There's a lot of food, and I love a good book that has food in it. It makes me hungry. And yeah,
Hmm.
weirdly specific book recommendations, books with food. This.
Wahala.
Last Night at the Telegraph Club. That one also has a lot of food that will make you hungry.
Yeah.
I'll try to think of a few randomly throughout. But yeah, no, read it. It's out now. It's really, really good, and you will enjoy it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Is that it? Just one?
That's it.
All right.
Well, yes,
Okay.
because
Yeah. All right.
I don't want to. Oh, I mean, I have many more, but I can't. Let's brevity.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share a book that I finished, I think, on the very 1st of January. It's a book that I started in December. And if you remember some podcast episodes back, I was talking about my slight obsession with Jackie Collins and wanting to read her for the first time because she's so prolific in her writing. Well, when she was alive in her heyday. And I was trying to figure out what is it about this woman that had people like clamoring to get their hands on every single book she ever put out. So I started with one of her, I don't know if she has a lot of series, but I started with her Lucky Santangelo series, okay? And I read book 1 called Chances. Okay, y'all.
I really wish you had done a reading vlog for this.
I really should have. First of all, this book, it made me a little uncomfortable at the start because they used the N-word a lot. And I was very thrown off. I was like, Jackie, I didn't know what was happening. And then the writing's terrible. Let me just say that. The writing's absolutely terrible. There's this one scene where this pimp is like talking to one of his new hookers or whatever. And she's like, what are you going to do, black man? And I was like, Jackie Collins, what is happening here? I can't explain the absurdity in this book, but it's the absurdity that kept me reading. This book is addictive. You've got Lucky Santangelo. She's the daughter of Gino Santangelo, Gino the Ram, because he banged a lot of chicks in the day. Not my words. I'm just saying. And he's all hooked up with the mob, and he's a messy guy. He's in all these various businesses. Some legit, some not so legit, and he's a whole mess. And essentially, it doesn't matter, this book's old. Essentially, he has to leave the country because of a tax issue. And so Lucky, the daughter, steps in and kind of like starts running everything, and the story goes from there. But this book is absurd. It is everything about a soap opera that I miss and love. And I enjoyed reading this mess of a book from beginning to end, but it did throw me in the beginning with all of that language.
I'm going to tell you that every time she would give me a reading update, because we pretty much give each other reading updates every day, all day, and she would just be like, Alyssa, the writing is absolutely terrible, but I just can't stop.
I can't stop. I had to know what was happening next. Is Lucky gonna hook up with Marco? What's going on? I had to know. And then there's queerness in this book.
Oh, there is?
Yes, there is.
Jackie was progressive.
Yes, there is. There sure is. So,
Look at that.
Grandma was
reading some spicy stuff.
Yeah. So one of my December book hauls when I was at the thrift store. No, at McKay, I found 5 books in this Lucky Santangelo series. And so when I was done with this one, I was like, well, holy hell, I need to read book 2 like right now. But I didn't have book 2, so I had to order it right away. So
do you have them all now?
Coming. I almost have them all. I think I have 6 out of the 8. The other 2 are really hard to track down. At a good price, I should say.
Oh, are they the later ones in the series?
Yeah, but they've been like refreshed, and so I can't find the old ones.
Yeah.
So I've got some time, but
if you give me the titles or put them in our thing, there's always a Jackie Collins in the book barn. And Danielle Steele.
Oh, and if you remember, one of our episodes, it was the interview with Rachel Hauser Hall. She was talking about how she loves this Lucky Santangelo Jackie Collins series. So, Rachel, I read book 1. Okay, that is all.
That is all we're reading. That is what we're reading. But what is the point of this video? Episode?
What? Yeah. So
sorry, I've been huffing paint thinner all day, so I've been working on projects. I'm not just getting high. I promise. I'm working on projects.
She's working on a project.
I'm a little brain dead
because somebody didn't wear their what?
My mask. Naomi, I wear a mask all day. I'm tired.
I know. I know.
I thought the door being open would be enough. It was not.
It was not. It was
It
not.
is not
So,
ventilated enough. My eyeballs are burning.
so
Anyway.
oh my God. So forgive her. Yes. Today we're going to be discussing our final book club pick of 2021, which was Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Booyah for those who can see the video. We're holding up the book. Yes. So, for you, this was your first read of S.A. Cosby, correct?
Correct. And I don't think that I don't know what Blacktop Wasteland, that's the other book that I have, right?
That's the one that I read.
I don't know what that one is like, but I wasn't expecting, I think I was expecting more of just like a thriller and not such a violent book, I guess. And none of that is a negative. But it was just like, oh, okay. All right, we're going there. All right, I'm here. I'm here with it.
So I have a question because I never thought this was a thriller, but I keep hearing people reference it as a thriller. Is that how it's being marketed?
I think so, or at least that's how the people who don't like it or weren't as impressed by it. We had this conversation on the side that I had seen a couple booktroopers be like, "Oh, this just didn't live up to the hype," and
Well, we're sorry that y'all don't want to give these black authors a try, and it's not Riley Sager. I'm sick of y'all with this nonsense. I'm so sick of y'all. I'm sick of y'all. Every time it's a black author doing something, y'all are like, "Oh, I didn't understand it. Oh, I didn't like it. Oh, I didn't."
But I don't understand what there is to not understand with this book. Like, that's what I'm not like. This was more of like a family.
It was totally a family story.
More of like a contemporary, just fiction than I thought it was a thriller. And I went into it thinking it was a thriller based on things that I had, I guess, digested from, being in this little social media space and seeing people talk about things. And no, this book is fantastic. This book hits so many things that you and I have talked about on this podcast, just here and there, about, oh, what the hell does it mean to be black and gay?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the themes of this book, I mean, you got redemption, revenge, love, acceptance, forgiveness, like
family,
deception. So many things. You don't relate to any of this stuff?
No. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a convict? What does it mean to be an ex-con? What does it mean to be poor? What does it mean to be Southern? What does it mean to be religious? And like, there's so just much in this. Ooh, I'm hitting my mic. In this tiny little book. It's not a big book.
It's not. It's
tiny little book.
What is it? It's
so much packed in here.
A little over 300 pages. I read this in a day because this is the kind of book where you're like, okay, page turn. You just it's that kind of a book. And it's I really loved it. And, Virginia, so.
Yeah. So I do have a question for you about Virginia in a second. But I will say that if you were somebody that read Razorblade Tears and was like, I just don't get it, or had anything like of negativeness to say about it, or just not as positive on it as maybe you could have been, but you're also seeing all these posts and commentary and interviews with Lil Nas X talking about what he's doing for being a gay black man and how unapologetic he is about it and the things that he is saying, and you cheer that on, then you've missed the plot with this entire book, I think. And the struggle that the people have, just one, being queer, and two, being queer and in different pockets of society, because they face unique challenges. There's not one narrative of queerness.
Absolutely.
And there are struggles for each narrative. And this very nicely does that, because the fathers are different.
Yeah.
Completely different backgrounds. The only thing they really have in common is being ex-cons and having gay sons. That's really all they have.
That's it.
That really ties them together. And I guess being from Virginia, but yeah. And anyway, do you want to give a little summary of what this is before we talk about it? There will be spoilers, I'm assuming. So buckle up, buttercups, and
yeah. So
get ready.
So let me get the other guys. Okay, so essentially, Ike Randolph and Buddy Lee, two fathers of sons who were married. Their sons were murdered, and these two fathers...
Quite violently.
Quite violently. These two fathers decide, not immediately, but decide to basically revenge their sons' deaths.
Yeah.
And that is what we are dealing with in
And that sets
this
up
book.
the whole
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
And it becomes quite the journey. Like they are going here, there, and everywhere. And along the way, these two men are, you can see them working through their own prejudices that
Oh,
they've
yeah.
been holding onto, their own issues with each other, their issues over like just race relations, I guess,
Hmm.
if
Yeah,
you want to put it that way. Because, you know, they're kind of, Ike's always kind of being like, buddy, you can't freaking say that. like,
right.
and yeah.
And they were in
And
very different financial circumstances. Buddy was
yeah,
kind of struggling, and Ike had his own lawn
business.
care business, and was doing quite well for himself and his family, and still married. But Buddy Lee
Hmm.
was divorced. But I don't know if I want to go down that road right now, but we'll talk about that marriage later. But to start with, I want to know overall what you thought about the book. Like, what do you rate it? What was your overall?
Um, I am gonna cheap out. I'm giving it 4.5 stars because there was one thing that was bothering me a little bit. There was something about some of the description that irritated me every so often, that it was a little telly and not showy, and it
Mm-hmm.
would come up every so often and it would just bug me the tiniest bit.
Okay.
But then something would happen more action like, and I would be like, I forget about this. So 4.5 stars.
Okay. All right.
I'm being nitpicky. I'm trying to be better this year and not just give everything 5 stars because I enjoyed it.
I gave it 5 stars, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, it was a very surprising story for me because some of the things that were revealed later on in the book, I was like,
Hmm.
oh, well, I did not see that coming at all. And I
Hmm.
thought it was handled pretty well.
Hmm.
Second, Virginia. So many references. It just made me feel at home, and I really enjoyed it. Thirdly, is because I could see this being adapted into a movie.
Yes. I already know what you're saying. Yes.
Like,
100%.
this book is so cinematic. I mean,
Hmm.
somebody, if they are not already in a bidding war over this book, what are y'all thinking, Hollywood?
I don't know.
What are y'all thinking?
Where, where's
This is
where's
TV
Jordy?
material.
Doesn't he acquire things for Netflix? Yo,
Yes.
Jordy.
Where
like
where are you people?
he's
You
listening to this. Yo, Jordy.
Where are the Hulu and the Amazon Prime and the, I don't know, frick, name a network people? You all should be clamoring to get the rights to this book. So I
Have
gave
you
it a
ever
5 star because
watched
of that.
have you ever watched Luther?
Hell yes.
It kind of, for some reason, it just reminded me of Luther, like Ike and his like, he's messed up and has like anger issues, but he's definitely has also kind of a good heart in there. And there
Although
was,
Luther's so much dirtier and grittier.
yes,
And
but
he's way more effed up. I guess maybe
yes,
like stage one of Luther.
but I kept like thinking of Luther when I
Yeah,
was reading this. And I was like, oh yeah, and I
yeah.
think that was part of the. You could definitely make this into a show. Like
Oh
there
my
is an audience that
gosh.
is going to read it. Um,
Hmm. Oh
Speaking
yeah.
of Virginia, my question for you is: I know that you are not from the Richmond area.
No, but
However,
it's like
does
50 minutes away.
does it read to you like Virginia? Do you feel Virginia? Did it feel true to life while you were reading it?
Yeah, a good part of it does. You know,
Good.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty damn southern. It's pretty damn
It is
southern.
pretty damn southern.
Yeah. Yeah. I just loved all the Virginia references. It made me feel at home. Usually, I don't get a lot of Virginia references. Usually, I get every so often a book about LA, which is where I grew up.
Hmm.
But very few times do I read a book and it's Virginia centered.
Yeah, I'm spoiled. Everything ends up
I
being about where I'm
know.
from.
I
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah.
So, well, let's get
So
into it.
I understand that because I pretty much rate everything that's set in New York 5 stars. So I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. It's
Yeah.
what happens. So how do you want to structure this? Because I have just my regular mess of thoughts.
Well, I want to go. I want to talk about what is this part here? Um,
Because I want to talk about the barbershop. That is the one scene I really want to talk about.
oh, that's further into the book, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Give me your page.
Um, Give me a second here.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Can we go to page 7?
Yeah. I'm like at 150 and you're like 7. Yes, we can go to 7. What would you like to talk about on page 7?
So it was the part where Buddy Lee was talking to Ike, um, and he was sharing with him that time that he caught Derek kissing another boy,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that he said to him. And this is the first part of the book that actually made me tear up, and
Mm-hmm.
just made me feel incredibly sad. I'm going to read a little bit of it. He says, "When he was 14, I caught Derek kissing another boy down by the creek in the woods behind our trailer. Took off my belt and beat him like a runaway, like he stole something. I called him names, told him he was a pervert. I whooped him till his legs was covered with welts. He cried and cried, saying he was sorry. He didn't know why he was like that. You never got into it with your boy like that? Never? I don't know. Maybe you was a better than I was," Buddy Lee said. Ike adjusted his jaw. That it was like a gut punch.
They
There
had many exchanges that were throughout where they're exploring the terrible things that they said and did to their sons and having to deal with that.
because there's you know
The barber
when
shop's around 180, so we can put this
okay,
in wherever you want.
so what these two fathers, they've got these sons that are gay, and men like
Mm-hmm.
this don't want gay sons. They have different ideals about how and what they want their sons to be, and I just can't imagine being in that situation and being so unkind to your sons, to the point where, because it
Mm-hmm.
seems like the sons not really cut them off per se, but there wasn't that closeness that could have been there had there been more
Yes.
understanding from the fathers. But then having your sons brutally murdered in the way they were, knowing that at that time of their life ending, their sons knew that they weren't on board with their lifestyle.
Yep.
And
And
how do
that
you
causes a
just
chasm. Yeah.
exactly, how do you wrap your head around that? Because it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more saying I'm sorry. There's not a going back and saying I accept you. There's nothing. There's nothing. And that part just was like, man, that's a
Mm-hmm.
that's a very broken feeling.
It is. Um, and I mean, and I think this is why I'm jumping forward. I think that scene in the barber shop just really shows how deeply ingrained, especially in like black, I guess particularly Southern culture, um, there is this homophobia that's ingrained, and it's mixed with a lot of, I guess, religiosity and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
Um, and it's bad. I mean, he walks into this barber shop to kind of shake down, or go see somebody in the back room or something like that to
Yeah.
get
Wait,
some
what's the
more
page again?
information. About 185.
Okay, because I have something marked on 191 that kind of made my little eye
Yeah.
twitch. Okay.
And they're just kind of all, it's the barbershop. People are shooting the shit
Yeah.
and they're talking smack and all this stuff. And it says, white folks love seeing black men in dresses. The whole thing about feminizing us, making us weak. Oh, you don't think they want our women, quote unquote, independent and our men weak and gay. That's how they keep us in line. It ain't paranoia if it's true, Lavelle. And this kind of banter goes back and forth for a while. And Ike has this moment where he just kind of starts to reflect on all the things that are going on around him and the words that are being said. And he does step in at some point and confronts at least one of the gentlemen in this barbershop. But he has this internal monologue on 186 where he says, the agile banter, the casual camaraderie, the give and take of friendly insults and jabs, it was all a part of the character and culture of the barbershop. Many times he thought of it as the last place you didn't have to apologize for being a black man. This conversation showed him that there was another side to the barbershop, a side he had always known was there but had dismissed. It could be a place of circular logic where obtuse thinking was confirmed and reinforced by a pervasive groupthink.
Yeah.
So it's the struggle of having a different thought than the norm.
Yeah.
Is difficult when everybody around you is just reinforcing those beliefs. and nobody wants to be on the outside of their group,
Of course
right?
not. Of course not. Especially in the black community, and especially if
Hmm.
you are a part of the black community and the black church, which
Hmm.
shames, queerness so heavily.
So much, so
It's
much. Yeah.
just so much to the point that you will put yourself on track to live a lie. Meaning, you're queer, but you decide to live a, heteronormative life. And I think
Leads to a
that's
lot of
heartbreaking
risky
on another
behavior.
level. So this part on 191 just gave me like a little eye flinch, and I think this is when he was talking to Slice, when they were like discussing like how he basically took the rap for something his brother did or whatever, and
Hmm.
he didn't take care of Slice, and his family didn't take care of Ike's family and his son while he was in jail or whatever.
Yeah.
And uh Lan Ike says they shot him 6 times, lit him and his friend up. And I was like, ooh, even now you still can't say husband. That
Hmm.
part just like, ugh, like even now it's like, because what
Yeah.
I noticed was Buddy Lee had already come to the point where he accepted where his son was with his lifestyle. And
Yes, because
Ike
he
was
has a
still struggling with it, almost to the very
Ike
end.
really struggled for a long time with that. There was a scene between Buddy Lee and his ex-wife where, let me find it, and it's a little before this, where oh gosh, where is it?
Didn't they have a
Um,
lot of tension, Ike and his wife?
they did. I feel
Yeah.
like she really messed up with her choices, and she got really excited about the flash and the razzle dazzle, but we can go into more depth with that terrible relationship. Um, oh my gosh, where is it? But basically, like, he's saying that, you know, their son wasn't abhorrent. He wasn't okay. Yeah, he says to Chrissy, his ex-wife, we both made a lot of mistakes with him. He wasn't abhorrent. He wasn't sacrilegious. He was just Derek. That should have been enough for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel
She
like Buddy Lee comes to terms with these things a lot faster
he
than it takes
does.
Ike to get there. Yeah.
He does. It almost, yeah, it almost seemed like perhaps he had come to that maybe shortly before their sons were murdered or shortly after. But he
Yeah.
definitely had already wrapped his head around it.
Yeah.
And Ike was just having still such a hard time. And it sounds like Ike's wife, is her name Maya?
I can't remember, but she is a ride or die bitch, man. She was,
Yeah.
yeah, Maya. She is wonderful. I loved her.
Yeah. So of course it sounds like she was fully supportive of her son right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And there's a part in the beginning, I think I marked it. There's a part in the beginning between Ike and his wife. Oh, okay, yes. And this is on page 9. And they're talking, which sounds like they're getting ready to get into an argument. And he says, I loved him. I did just as much as you. And then she says, really? Where was this love when he was getting picked on morning, noon, and night in school? Oh, that's right. You were locked up. So there's also this thing in this book about being a married single mother, right? You're a
Mm-hmm.
married one with a child, but you're in a single
Mm-hmm.
mother capacity because your husband, the father of your child, is in jail. And it's of no
Mm-hmm.
use to your family structure as it is. And
Yep.
I just felt in that passage, that tension and possibly that anger that she still holds with him for doing what he did to get himself in a
Mm-hmm.
position to be taken away from their family, and then leaving that all with her to deal with, and having to deal with that son and all his hurt and the pain that he was going through as a child alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to come out and still not accept the son, and now he's dead, I just can't even imagine the level of her hurt and anger with Ike.
But she does have a lot of forgiveness and understanding in her because
She does.
she goes along like because it's her baby. Like she goes along with a lot of things
Yeah.
for her baby.
Yeah.
So like she's yeah. But I mean, there's also it's not just about being a single mother. There's also the just the play of what does your life mean as an ex-con? Like, are you ever not a convict? Because Mike's always struggling with what does he call it, Riot. He's always struggling with
Mm-hmm.
his alter ego, Riot.
Yeah.
Buddy is always remembering the things for wherever Buddy was
Yep.
from. And you're kind of always a criminal.
Yeah.
Like there really is, even Buddy Lee's this washed up drunk, lives in a trailer or white trash kind of guy,
Who's
whatever.
hopelessly still in love with his first wife.
Yes. Um but he's not really any different than Ike, who has pulled himself up and built a business and brought his family, back from the brink and
Yeah.
all of this. And they're still subject to the same prejudices for being criminals or
Mm-hmm.
ex-criminals.
Yeah.
And they just can't shake that. Like that will haunt him for like that just continues to haunt him even through to the end where like the cops don't believe them. That cop's like, I'm on to you,
Right.
Like he's never
I mean, but
it
the cop
doesn't
was
matter.
right.
Yeah, I know, but the cop doesn't have to be right. Is the point.
Right. But I
The
think
cop
that
didn't have to be right.
but I think the cop's not dumb. He's like, they were your sons.
Yeah.
You probably did it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it was spectacular at the ending.
Oh my
But
God.
just to circle back to the barbershop scene, when he's done talking to Slice and he has had those reflections on listening to the old banter that he used to participate in,
Yeah.
and he does step into this one guy's face for saying something, horrendous. He says, if I snuck in your house one night and slit your son's throat, I guarantee you the last thing you would be worrying about is if he was gay or not.
Yep.
And I feel like that's the moment where things start to like
Click for him.
into place.
Yep.
It is irrelevant.
Yeah.
If you love your child, it is irrelevant. It is part of who your child is, and you would rather have them here than hold on to that hate.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
So,
God, I love this book so much. I really, really do.
I also really liked that bar scene where they go into the bar scene and that guy kind of keeps pressing up on him and on him being Ike, and Ike kind of loses it. I wish I knew where that was. It's somewhere marked in here. But they're going on a fact-finding mission and they end up at a gay bar because they're trying to find this girl named Tangerine.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they didn't realize they were going to a gay bar, but then they figured it out. And there was this guy.
Poor Ike and Buddy.
This guy that just kept
Oh yes, I know
like
the part you're talking
trying to
about.
like buy him a drink. It's like 151. He keeps trying to buy him a drink. He keeps touching on him. He keeps like getting all up in Ike's space, and Ike's like, "No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm fine. Okay. No, thank you." And Ike's response after he kind of gets all, he starts to get violent, right?
Yeah.
Starts to come out, and he says, you tell somebody not to touch you, they ain't supposed to touch you. If I was inside and he did that, he'd end up staring at the lights, bleeding like a stuck pig.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily agree with the violence, but he's not wrong. There is a thing called consent. If I say, don't touch me, I don't want to drink, leave me the fuck alone. I don't care
exactly
in what scenario it is, like what tackle I got between my legs or not. Like,
exactly. Stop
if
harassing
I say,
me.
Don't.
Yeah.
That's it.
Period.
And the fact that like I don't feel like anybody really sides with him on that.
Yeah. But I don't
And it might be because he got so violent, but like I don't feel like anybody's like, you know what, you're right, he should have backed down.
Maybe it's because it's men.
Maybe. And it's a man writing it. Maybe this is where there's a difference between men and women. Yeah. I don't really know.
Maybe it's because it's men.
But like, because there's definitely times where I would like to punch, or I don't go anywhere now, where I would have liked to have punched somebody in the face
sure.
or whatever.
For sure.
Being a disgusting jerk at a bar or anywhere. But, yeah.
Yeah. I actually really liked Ike and Buddy together.
I did too. I think they taught each other a lot of things.
I think they did too. I think they were learning from one another. I love how they slowly opened up to one another. I love how they slowly became friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I was visioning them, getting this revenge for their sons and them being, great grand old pops to their granddaughter together. That's what I was visioning as I was like reading the book. That's how I wanted the ending to be. I
You wanted
wanted,
that to be the happy,
yeah,
fluffy
I
ending.
wanted them to be the pops,
Sorry.
they're like riding off in the sunset with their
Sorry,
granddaughter,
Naomi.
and then like that didn't happen, and that part broke me too. Because
Yeah.
I really I thought that they were building a nice, solid friendship, and like, who else in the world would understand what you went through other than the person that went through the same thing?
Yeah.
And I adored these two fellas together. I really
They
did.
were fantastic together. They really, really, really were. And they're also just badasses. Like
Weren't they though?
the like fight scenes, can we just call them fight scenes?
Yes, we
Were
can.
like crazy. Like
Yeah.
Ike and Buddy can turn anything into a weapon, which just goes to show you literally anything is a weapon if you have the right
Oh,
conviction.
yes.
But like it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's because,
Just
they're
think of all
older
the things
gentlemen,
you
they
could
were
do in
like,
a landscaping.
oh,
If
yeah,
you have landscaping equipment, you can do a lot of
you can do so much. But they were so underestimated, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's looking at them like,
Mhm.
we don't have anything to worry about with these two old
Well,
guys.
that's what that like gross guy, what the hell is his name? The gross guy, not Slice, the other one, Gatsby
Oh, what is his
Barry,
name?
whatever his name is. It's not
Yeah,
Barry.
I know who you're talking about.
But like the guy who Grayson?
Grayson.
No,
No, no, no. That's not him. That's the other butthole.
the guy who like headed up the breed, the
Yeah,
gang that was being manipulated to do all the bidding for
yeah,
our bad guy.
yeah.
Um our real bad guy. He kept being like he and his crew just kept being like, I can't believe these two old men
What up,
keep
Jew again?
fucking us up.
Yep.
And they do. They just keep fucking things up. Like every time they they come
Mm-hmm.
together because they have several times that they encounter each other.
Oh yeah.
Every time they encounter each other, these two old men just beat the shit out of them and hightail it out of there.
That
And
was
it's
the other part that I
spectacular.
loved about this book was the bike club portion of it.
Yes, I knew you'd like that.
I was like, oh,
But they were like a pack of stupid bike.
I
Like I
mean,
just feel like they were like a ragtag bunch of motorcyclists that felt like they were hard and tough, but really weren't.
they were some. I mean, there were an outlaw bike group, but whatever. Uh,
But I
yeah,
don't feel like they were as hard and practiced as they thought they were
because they're
in
not
like
OGs
theory.
like Ike and Buddy. Ike and Buddy were OGs. You little young cats thought you were going to do something. These old
They were
men
like, we
have
have guns.
decades of kicking ass on you.
They're like, we have guns, and then they're like, well, I have
Lawn
a
equipment.
lot of equipment and a small knife, and I will fuck you
That's
up.
right, because that's what an OG can do.
Yeah. I
So,
was like,
but I
and
thought
I
that
went
was
to
funny.
prison, so I
Right?
know some things.
Exactly. So they had nothing on Ike and Buddy, which I
Nothing
really
on
got a
him.
kick of. You know what I mean? Because it just showed, like, okay, don't even put age in this as a thing. It
Mhm.
means nothing except I've got more years of experience on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they've also been around the block just in general through their own life experiences, and surviving through more hardship. They didn't
Oh, yeah.
take on a persona of hardness to be part of some crew. Like that's what they did to survive. They got through because like what is it? Buddy went to like Red Onion. I don't know what Red
Yeah.
Onion is. Some
Somewhere
like
bad.
crazy somewhere very bad
Yes.
and very scarring. And Ike in his riot life sounds like he was.
It sounded like he did some
Some
really
questionable
bad
things.
things. Meanwhile,
also-
this bike club's being bankrolled by some politician to
Yep.
carry, excuse me, to carry out his dirty tricks. So it's a little bit different.
I just flipped to a random page and I have underlined from Buddy Lee, I'm gonna cut your dick off and make you eat it.
Welcome, folks. Welcome to Razorblade
Welcome
Tears.
to Razorblade Tears.
Oh man, look, if you're someone who doesn't like a lot of gritty violence, just know there's a lot of that in this book. But none of it feels gratuitous. You know what I mean? None of it feels gratuitous. It all feels perfectly aligned with the story and their mission to get
Because
these
they're not
people back.
they're not just doing, it's not like a Tarantino film. It's not just
Right.
violence to like I don't really like Tarantino films because half the time I'm like,
I
all right,
do.
I get it.
I love Tarantino, but that's a story for another day.
I'm like, I get it. All right, can we move on? But
No,
it's
more
also why
chop,
like
chop, kill, kill, slice, slice.
it's that's the way I feel about books where all it is just
Yeah.
fucking all the time. Like at some point I need
We're talking to you,
you
Den
to
of Vipers.
Oh no, there's a worse one.
What?
I found it more annoying than Den of Vipers because Den of Vipers actually attempted to have a plot and make it more than 5% of the story. A Lady of Rook's Grave Manor, which I read, it's a
I
monster.
know the book.
Yeah, so that is basically just 300 pages of just weird monster sex, and it just doesn't stop. And yes, there is a plot. There's something happening, but it's like they as soon as there's like a few sentences that introduce like a new little nugget of plot, and then it's just back to weird sex for like pages and pages and pages
Okay.
to
All
the point
right.
where like I was legitimately bored. I was like, I get it. All right. Okay. La la la.
Okay.
Like
Well, okay. Razorblade Tears is not that. You will not get
it's
bored with
not
the
that.
violence. It doesn't feel like it's just there for show or whatever. Like
Mhm.
everything feels like it's in the right place at the right moment. I will say that.
I do like this. I'm just randomly reading out quotes because this is how my brain works. But I'm on 285, and Tangerine, when they finally find her, they're talking to Tangerine and they gain her trust. Um, she asks revenge, and Ike smiled ruefully. No, hate. Folks like to talk about revenge like it's a righteous
Oh,
thing,
that's a good
but
line.
it's
Yep.
just hate in a nicer suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not. He's not. He hates the men who killed his son,
Yeah.
and as he should be. And yeah,
Yeah.
it
That
is
was
it
that was
is
actually
it's
a
not
really
about
good line.
vengeance.
Yeah.
It is there's a lot of really good one-liners in here. There's also some language I didn't know we were people even said anymore. Um there was one word in here that I asked you about and I was like, Naomi, do you know what this is?
Oh,
Is this a
right.
racial slur? I don't want to Google this. And then because I had never heard it before and you had actually never heard it before. And I
Right.
looked it up and I was like, oh no, okay, that's a new one. All right, we've got new ones. And then there's a nice old one on 287, which I
Oh,
haven't heard in a long time.
let's see what that one is.
Lovely Grayson says something lovely to somebody.
Mm.
Ike
Oh,
says, I want to talk to the man in charge. And Grayson almost scoffed at making demands on me.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's an
that's
oldie.
reaching back and pulling one out just for good old fun.
I literally says, do people really still say this?
Yeah. Yeah. They reach back for that
Yes.
one. Mm-hmm.
Oh God. But it's crazy. Like there's actually like then on like 289, the language gets like really, really, really disgusting near the end. Um, listen to me, you damn savage. Uh, I won't have Grayson slit that mongrel's throat. Like just
Yeah.
calling people just absolutely disgusting, disgusting, debasing things. It is just it's it's just so hard to stomach the fact that this is not off from reality, other than the fact that there's probably not so many people in crazy motorcycle gangs doing this. But who
Ooh,
knows? Because when they're backed by politicians, who knows? I like to think that I live, first of all, I live in the fine state of New York where it is blue and liberal. And I'm not saying that we don't have our problems. I'm just saying that they're different. And
Yes, yes, yes.
we have different problems up here.
What did you think about Christine? Like, obviously,
Oh, the wife, the
yeah, Buddy's
ex-wife.
ex-wife. Obviously, Buddy Lee was still very much in love with her. I don't think that he really wanted to be. I think he just really loved her, and he just couldn't help it. But he was also angry with her. But she sounds like an awful person. I was trying to understand. I guess she just wanted a better life, and she wanted not to struggle and all that good stuff. But even when that news came out about what her husband did,
Mhm.
she was more focused on who's Tangerine.
Yeah.
It, lady,
Did you not
you're
hear?
did did you miss something? This is more than about the woman he's screwing.
Yeah.
This man, I don't want to give it away, but like, come on.
He's not a nice man. But she knows, like, first of all, she knows her husband's screwing somebody. She says that, like, way in the beginning. She's talking about, some party he's having and how, and, like, I kind of clocked some things. I have a little sticky note where I feel like I kind of knew
Yeah.
somebody was involved, but it was just, I hammered along for the journey. And to get everything to fall into piece, I wanted to see all the pieces fall together. That's what I wanted to say. But like she does make reference to it. She's like, all these people are here, like lauding him and clapping for him, and he's making, he's trying to get voted in for some position, and
Mm-hmm.
all under the presumption that he's trying to do good. Meanwhile, he's screwing somebody else,
Yep.
and yada yada yada. And she knows all of this.
Yeah.
She knows that he's a bad person. She knows that it's all this. But I think for her, it's just about her pride. Like it wounds her pride to have her husband cheating on her so publicly, and then to find out who the person is that he's cheating on her with.
Mm-hmm.
And also she just wants to have the good life,
She
and
wants.
she doesn't want anything to interfere with that.
She doesn't want to lose that position.
So there's blinders on,
Yeah.
because it doesn't sound like she likes her husband very much,
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
like at all.
It sounds like she's still quite fond of Buddy Lee,
Yes.
but she definitely married for position and money.
Yeah.
The second time around.
Which is a very Southern thing to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But I really think Buddy should have been with that nice little lady neighbor he had.
Oh,
What was
know.
her name?
She was
was
so
lovely.
sweet, checking on him,
Yeah.
making him meals. That was kind of sad.
Being like, why is your granddaughter sitting on the ground? Get her ass up off the ground.
Yeah. That's a nice lady.
She was a nice lady.
I wanted some
like
happiness.
she was a real person.
Right.
I was like, oh, she's a real person. But I mean, you do want him to have happiness, because at the end of the day, he is a good person and he deserves some happiness. And like I got to turn his life around. I got to keep Maya. I got to have the granddaughter. I get to
Maya, really.
Yeah, it's all Maya's doing for that stuff. But he came out, and for whatever sins he had before he went to prison, when he came out, you can feel like he was really trying to atone for most of them in some way, and to build a life for his family so that he doesn't have to go back to being Riot. Absolutely. And to being part of the gang. And I think there is a nice discussion in there about why would anybody turn to a gang kind of life. And it's, when you're trying to struggle and make a life for yourself at the bottoms of the society, and you're not getting any safety or security, you make your own safety and security.
Right.
And that can become something that's not lawful. I'm trying to pick the right word.
Mm-hmm.
It can take twists and turns, but like you're still a family. Like people need people, and people need people to protect them, and it can get twisted, and it can be lovely. It can be lots of things. And life can be all kinds of different paths in life, but the impetus is you want to have a community, and you want to have protection, and you want to feel safe, and you want to belong, right?
Yeah, also there's like two perceptions of like a gang, right? Outsiders look at a particular neighborhood with gangs and it's so terrifying to them, but you have to understand sometimes when you were born and raised in that community with these gangs, they're just like regular people that just formed a club. So you're not looking at them with terror. You're looking at them maybe as like the cool guys you want to be friends with. And so it's a different, like the levels of fear are different. You're not really scared of them because these are guys you grew up with, and you have always wanted to be a part of their clique, So that's different from what somebody on the outside sees.
Yes.
And so there's a very big distinction between whether you're on the inside versus the outside as it pertains to like a gang.
But then there's the whole discussion of like what's a valid gang and what's not a valid gang. Like the breeders are validated by being the toys and the puppets of the politicians. Like it's fine to be that gang, but then Slice and his brother and Riot and all of them are in a very different kind of gang that is villainized.
Right.
And how are they any different? They're not. They're the same thing. It's just, one's got some white dudes in it. So therefore, it's fine.
Dare I say, the gang that's being propped up and funded by the politician is the one in the most precarious situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you got somebody in this high level of power who can really break you and bring you down in a way
Mhm.
that the other game doesn't have to worry about.
Oh yeah, because I mean, our little politician is not. He does not. He's not trying to hide the fact that he can bury people,
Exactly.
and he will, and he don't care. Like he's
Exactly.
gonna cut ties where he needs to cut ties,
Exactly.
and as he needs to cut them.
He was a horrible person.
He was a horrible
A
person.
horrible person.
Hmm.
So anyway, so this is the second book that I read by. This is his second book, right? Because
I think
Black
so.
Child
I don't.
Wasteland, I believe, was a debut.
He either has 2 or 3 books, and I can't remember. He's got My Darkest Prayer. I don't know what that is. So there is another book.
Okay. So I've only read Black Child Wasteland. I read it in January of 2021, and I love that as well. But I am so excited about this author. I really
Yes.
enjoy his writing.
I think he's got a real amazing way to spin language to be very raw and readable and relatable and also like poignant and
Yes.
thought provoking, which I think are the same word but said differently. But
Yes.
anyway,
Yes. Also, let me give a major shout out to the narrator of this audiobook.
oh yes,
I mean, he was phenomenal. I like to interview that guy. He was really good. He brought the story, he really brought
to
it to
life.
life. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
It was good. It was good. We're gonna
that
try not to
was,
spoil everything, but that was a fantastic, fantastic
yeah,
read.
that was our
So,
December 2021 pick, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Join us for January for that pick of The Cabinet by, what's it,
yes,
Sun Kim?
unsung. Let me
Go to
read it
our
to you because
website, tbrlowdown.com, to get the full synopsis and all that good stuff.
Unsu Kim,
Unsu Kim.
Unsu Kim. And it's a weird little story. I hope it's a weird little story. We haven't started it yet. We're going to start it closer to the end of
Yeah.
the month. So it's fresh for our
Yes.
live discussion because we're going to go back to live discussions, guys, for
Yes.
the year of 2022 if you missed our mini announcement episode. But yeah. So do we want to move to our new closeout of
Yes, we're going to
do you want to
be.
give me one book recommendation?
Yeah, we're going to be doing book recommendations at the end of every show now, just because we want
Guys,
you all to fill up
read more
your.
books.
That's right, read more books. So I am going to recommend Sula by Toni Morrison. This
Ooh.
this was the second Toni Morrison I ever read. I think the first one I read was Beloved, but Sula, ma'am, this one knocked me off my feet. Let me read a little bit of the synopsis. At its center, a friendship between two women. A friendship whose intensity first sustains, then injures. Sula and Nell, both black, both smart, both poor, raised in a small Ohio town, meet when they are 12, wishbone thin and dreaming of princes. Through their girlhood years, they share everything: perceptions, judgments, yearnings, secrets, even crime, until Sula gets out. Out of the bottom, the hilltop neighborhood where beneath the sporting life of the men hanging around the place in head rags and soft felt hates, there hides a fierce resentment at failed crops, lost jobs, thieving insurance men, bug ridden flour, at the invisible line that cannot be overstepped. This is a phenomenal read. I recommend everyone read Sula by Toni Morrison.
It's a classic. Read it. Yes, I need to read it.
Oh,
I'm
and also
also yelling at myself.
it was the 1993 Nobel Prize in Literature.
Oh. I was not prepared for this, so I just stared at my shelves until we started recording and picked out Guantanamo Voices, which
Ooh.
is actually it's a graphic novel, and it is each chapter is sort of a different interview with somebody who is related to Guantanamo Bay and the prison. There are, prisoners, there are caretakers, there are politicians, there are reporters, and these are all based on actual interviews with these real people. And I think every chapter is also by a different artist, so the artwork changes throughout, and it's absolutely powerful and moving, and
Mm.
definitely a must read for people that have forgotten that this actually still is a thing.
Yes,
Like
it
there
is.
are still people there.
Yep.
It came out, I believe, last year. I had it as an e-arc, and then I went and picked myself up a beautiful hard copy, and it is gorgeous, and it is definitely, read it. Like it is
It's
important
beautiful.
stories showing some art. It's really really beautiful, and I mean it's just crazy that this
Wow.
exists and did exist and continues to exist. And you get a lot of different perspectives throughout the book. So it's a great little project, and I wish I saw it more. So read
Yeah.
it.
I love it. I love it. Wow. All right. Well, I enjoyed this discussion of Razorblade Tears. I'm
Too.
very glad we chose it as our last book of the year.
Me too.
Yeah, I am. So, anyway, that's going to do it for us. We are getting out of here, folks. Until next time, bye.
Bye.